Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep into some mind-bending ideas.
Always up for a good brain workout.
Today we're taking on David Deutsch's The Beginning of Infinity. Buckle up, because this book is a wild ride through physics and philosophy, history, and even art.
A real smorgasbord of knowledge, all exploring the nature of knowledge itself.
Exactly. We've got excerpts from the book itself, touching on so many fascinating concepts. And our mission, to extract the juiciest ideas, the ones that make you go, whoa, I never thought about it like that before.
The real aha moments, right?
Yeah, you got it. And one of the first things that struck me was how Deutsch goes after common sense, saying it often leads us astray to the wrong conclusions.
Yeah, he really shakes things up from the very beginning. Challenges his assumptions we often take for granted.
Can you give us an example of how common sense can mislead us? Like, how does that actually play out?
Imagine you're peering through a microscope and you see this faint smudge. You might think, oh, just a speck of dust, right? It makes sense. But what if that smudge is actually a whole galaxy, millions of light years away? Suddenly, your perspective changes dramatically. Deutsch argues that's how common sense tricks us, limiting our understanding based on, well, our limited experience.
So even in science, where we strive for objectivity, our preconceived notions can creep in.
Absolutely. Even the most rigorous scientific observations are filtered through our existing theories. We don't see things as they truly are, but as we expect them to be.
That's a bit unsettling.
Yeah.
And this leads to another big idea Deutsch tackles: the principle of mediocrity.
Ah, yes. The idea that humans are basically insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe, just a random collection of atoms on a random planet.
Kind of a cosmic bummer, right?
You could say that. But Deutsch pushes back hard against this notion. He points to the unique properties of Earth's biosphere, the incredibly rare conditions that make life possible, especially intelligent life, capable of creating explanations.
Okay, so we're not just random specks of dust. There's something special about our ability to understand the universe.
Exactly, and that's where his emphasis on explanations comes in. Deutsch sees explanations as the foundation of knowledge and progress, the engine that drives everything from scientific breakthroughs to artistic masterpieces.
So more than just predicting what'll happen, it's about understanding the why, getting to the heart of how things work.
You got it. He uses this great analogy of a conjuring trick. You might be amazed by a magician's illusions, but until you grasp the method behind the magic, you're missing the real knowledge.
Oh, like that. So predictions are like watching the illusion, explanations are like figuring out how the trick works.
Spot on. A deeper explanation gives you a broader understanding, not just of that specific illusion, but of the principles behind it. And that understanding can be applied to other tricks, other situations.
Right, like you're not just learning one trick, you're learning a whole approach to magic. So a deeper explanation has, what, a ripple effect.
Deutsch calls it reach. Explanations have reach, extending beyond the specific observations they were based on. Take the ancient Greek myth that explained winter as the goddess Demeter grieving for her daughter.
Okay, I remember learning about that.
It predicted winter coming every year, which, yes, it does, but it doesn't explain why.
Totally different from how we understand seasons now, with the Earth's tilt and its orbit around the sun.
Exactly. That modern explanation doesn't just predict winter. It tells us why seasons happen, and we can apply that knowledge to other planets, other solar systems. That's the power of reach. A good explanation illuminates a much wider landscape of knowledge.
It's like that feeling when a whole subject suddenly clicks into place because you understand the underlying why. Have you ever had one of those aha moments? Like suddenly a whole field of knowledge makes sense.
Definitely. Those moments are gold. And for Deutsch, they're not just about satisfying curiosity, they're about tapping into the power of knowledge to create and solve problems in ways we couldn't have before.
Okay, so explanations are key. But Deutsch doesn't stop there. He goes on to say that abstract things, math concepts, laws of physics, even ideas like justice and freedom are just as real as physical objects. But how can something abstract be real?
It does seem counterintuitive at first, right? But our best explanations of the world rely on these abstractions. Think about gravity. You can't see or touch it, but it's the best explanation for why things fall to the ground.
So the effects are real, even if the concept itself seems intangible.
Exactly. Deutsch brings up this really cool example. Hofstadter's domino computer. It's a physical machine made of dominoes that can compute whether a number is prime or not.
Wait, Domino's doing math?
Right. The dominoes themselves are physical, but the result depends on the abstract concept of primality.
So the abstract idea is guiding the physical process.
Exactly. And you see this with writing, too. Early writing systems use pictograms, images representing specific things. But as writing evolved, it became more about abstract symbols and rules, like alphabets that represent sounds.
So the meaning shifted from the physical symbol to the underlying concept.
Right. And those rules, those abstractions, are essential for conveying complex information and meaning. It's not just about marks on paper, it's about the ideas they represent.
So much deeper than just the physical form. Does this change how you view the power of abstract ideas? Think about how math, language, even concepts like justice shape our world, even though we can't physically grasp them.
It's mind-blowing how these intangible concepts have such a tangible impact on our lives. And now get ready for a truly wild ride as we venture into the realm of universality and infinity.
Bring it on. I'm ready to have my mind expanded.
Deutsch dives into the work of mathematician Georg Cantor, who explored some really mind-boggling ideas about infinity. One of them is this concept called infinity hotel. It's a hotel with, well, infinitely many rooms.
Wait, a hotel with infinite rooms. How can that even...
I know, it's crazy, but imagine this. Even if every room is full, Infinity Hotel can always accommodate more guests. They just ask every guest to move to the room numbered 1 higher than their current room.
Okay, but what if someone's in the highest numbered room?
That's the thing. There is no highest numbered room. There are infinitely many, so there's always another room available.
Whoa! My brain is starting to hurt. But I think I'm getting it. It defies logic, but within the realm of infinity, it makes sense.
And this leads to a truly mind-blowing idea. Every point in an infinite sequence is exceptionally close to the beginning. No matter how far you go down the number line, you're closer to 0 than to infinity.
Okay, that's a deep thought. What are the implications of that?
It suggests that we're always at the very beginning of an infinite journey of discovery. And this idea ties into the concept of universality in computation. The idea that a single machine could, in principle, perform any computation that can be described.
Like a universal translator, but for computation?
Exactly. Deutsch uses the example of Charles Babbage's difference engine, a mechanical calculator from the 1820s. It was designed for specific calculations, but it had the seeds of universality. With some tweaks, it could have become a universal computer, capable of any computation imaginable.
Wow, so the idea of a universal machine was within reach even back then. It makes you rethink the limits of what's possible in the physical world and in our own minds. It's like, are we really just at the beginning of an infinite journey of discovery and creation?
The possibilities are truly endless, but hold on tight because next we're diving into the deepest end of the pool, the multiverse.
The multiverse. Things are about to get really weird, aren't they?
Oh, you have no idea. Deutsch fully embraces the many universes interpretation of quantum theory, one of the most mind-blowing ideas in science. It suggests that our universe is just one of infinitely many, all coexisting and interacting in ways that defy our everyday intuition.
Okay, I'm officially on the edge of my seat. Tell me more. How can there be multiple universes?
Picture this. A parallel universe where everything's identical to ours until a tiny change happens. Maybe in that universe you had a different breakfast this morning, or maybe a butterfly flapped its wings a bit differently, changing the course of history.
So every possible choice, every event creates a new universe.
That's the basic idea. And this leads to fungibility, the concept that seemingly identical things can have subtle differences that lead to vastly different outcomes, like $2 bills with different serial numbers.
Right. They look the same, but they're not completely identical. But how does this apply to, like, particles?
Two instances of a particle can have tiny differences that make them distinct. And those differences can ripple out, creating entirely different universes.
This is blowing my mind. So how do these different universes interact?
Yeah.
How do we even know they're there if they're, well, parallel?
That's where quantum mechanics comes in. One key concept is interference, which can be tricky. Think of waves in a pond. If you drop 2 pebbles, the waves spread out and overlap, interfering with each other, creating a more complex pattern.
Okay, I can visualize that. But how does this relate to universes?
In quantum mechanics, particles can act like waves too. And when instances of a particle from different universes interact, they interfere, changing the probabilities of outcomes. It's like those overlapping waves, but instead of water, it's the fabric of reality being shaped.
Okay, starting to get it, but it's still pretty wild. If the multiverse is real, what does that mean for things like free will and choice? And the sheer vastness of reality?
Big questions, right? It challenges our whole understanding of who we are and the nature of the universe. It's mind-bending stuff, and physicists are still grappling with it today.
So much to think about. But for now, let's take a breath and let our listeners digest all this. We'll pick up next time exploring more implications of the multiverse, including how it impacts our understanding of knowledge and progress, even the ultimate fate of the universe.
It's going to be an epic journey. Stay tuned. Welcome back, fellow explorers. Last time we left off with that mind-blowing concept of the multiverse.
I feel like my brain is still trying to wrap itself around the idea of infinite universes.
It's definitely a big one to grasp. And let's be clear, the many universes interpretation, while incredibly compelling, isn't universally accepted among physicists. There are other interpretations of quantum theory out there.
So why isn't everyone on board with the multiverse? What's holding them back?
Deutsch points to something he calls bad philosophy that's seeped into science and clouded our understanding of what science really is.
Bad philosophy. Now I'm really intrigued.
It starts with empiricism, this idea that all knowledge comes from sensory experience. Sounds reasonable, but it's ultimately flawed.
How so?
Well, we can only observe a tiny fraction of what's really out there. And even those observations are colored by our theories, our preconceptions. Like we talked about earlier, even scientific observation is theory-laden.
Right, like that galaxy smudge we might mistake for a dust speck under the microscope.
Mm.
But how does this tie into the multiverse?
Empiricism leads to the idea that science should only focus on predictions, not on explaining how the world actually works.
So if we can't see it or measure it, it doesn't matter. Kind of a seeing is believing approach.
Basically, yeah. But Deutsch argues that misses the whole point of science. Remember, for him, it's about creating explanations, not just predictions. And the multiverse offers a deep and beautiful explanation for some of the most baffling things we see in quantum mechanics.
Okay, walk me through that. How does the multiverse explain quantum weirdness?
It comes down to the strange behavior of particles at the quantum level. They don't act like tiny billiard balls. Instead, they seem to exist in multiple states at once, like a blurry cloud of possibilities.
Right, and that's where fungibility comes in, the idea that seemingly identical particles can have tiny differences leading to vastly different outcomes.
Exactly, like those $2 bills with different serial numbers.
Okay, got it. But how does this explain how quantum stuff behaves?
So imagine a particle that can exist in two states. Let's call them state A and state B. In the multiverse, both states actually exist, but in different universes.
So the particle is splitting itself between universes. That's wild.
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it. And here's where it gets really interesting. When we try to measure the particle's state, we're interacting with both instances, the A instance and the B instance, and that causes interference, like those overlapping waves in the pond.
So the interference between these different instances of the particle is what causes that weird quantum behavior we see.
Exactly. It's not that the particle is somehow switching between states in our universe. We're seeing the combined effect of multiple instances of that particle, each in a different universe, interfering with each other.
That's a really elegant explanation. It ties together everything we've been talking about, the nature of explanations, the reality of abstractions, the vastness of the multiverse.
It shows how a deep explanation can give us a much richer understanding of the world.
This is a lot to take in. Can you give me a concrete example of how this plays out?
Sure. One classic example is the double slit experiment. It's a bit technical, but basically you shine a beam of light through two narrow slits and look at the pattern it makes on a screen.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
If light were just a wave, you'd expect to see bright and dark bands like water waves. But here's the thing. Even if you shoot single particles of light, photons, through the slits, you still get that interference pattern.
So it's like each photon is interfering with itself.
That's what it looks like from our single universe viewpoint. But in the multiverse, there are countless instances of each photon, some going through one slit, some the other, and these different instances interfere with each other, creating that pattern.
It's like each photon is exploring every possible path in different universes, and we're seeing the combined effect of all those journeys.
That's a fantastic way to put it. The multiverse gives us a natural explanation for this seemingly paradoxical behavior without needing complicated workarounds or giving up on the idea of a mind-independent reality.
It's all starting to click into place for me.
But the multiverse isn't just about explaining quantum mechanics. It has profound implications for how we think about choice, free will, even time itself.
Okay, let's talk about choice. If there are countless versions of ourselves making different choices in different universes, do our choices even matter?
That's a question philosophers have debated for ages, and the multiverse adds a whole new level of complexity. But here's how I think about it. Imagine you're at a crossroads, having to pick a path. In the multiverse, both paths exist, but you, the specific you at that crossroads, only experience one.
So our choices matter because they determine our own individual experience.
Exactly. We're not just watching a pre-written script. We're actively choosing which branch of the multiverse we experience. Our choices shape our own personal reality, even if every possible choice plays out somewhere in the multiverse.
That's both empowering and a little daunting. It means we have a responsibility to make choices that lead to a better future for ourselves and the universe we experience.
Absolutely. The multiverse doesn't make our choices less important, it actually amplifies them. We're literally world makers, each decision shaping the universe we inhabit.
It's like we're each playing our own melody on a grand piano of the multiverse.
Beautiful analogy. And this brings us to time. In classical physics, time's like a river, flowing from past to future. But in the multiverse, it's more like a branching tree, with each choice creating a new branch of possibilities.
So the past is fixed, but the future is this vast, open landscape of possibilities.
That's one way to see it. The multiverse challenges our idea of a single timeline and suggests that the future isn't set, but a constantly unfolding tapestry of choices and consequences.
Gives a whole new meaning to the saying, the future isn't set in stone.
Exactly. The multiverse embraces infinite possibilities and challenges us to see ourselves as active participants in creating our own reality, individually and collectively. But remember, this is just the beginning. We've barely scratched the surface of what the multiverse might hold.
I'm already feeling the limits of my imagination. But I'm excited to explore further. What else does Deutsch have to say about all of this? Okay, we're back, ready to keep unraveling the mysteries of the multiverse. So far, we've challenged common sense, explored the power of explanations and the reality of abstract ideas, even dipped our toes into this vast ocean of multiple universes. But where does it all lead? What's the takeaway from all of this?
One of the most exciting things about Deutsch's book is how he connects these ideas to the concept of progress. He really challenges that traditional view of progress, as this steady climb towards some ultimate goal.
Like climbing a ladder, rung by rung, to reach a specific destination.
Exactly. But Deutsch sees it differently. For him, progress is more like a branching tree, with each new discovery, invention, or creative act creating a new branch, opening up new possibilities.
So less about a fixed endpoint, more about exploring this ever-expanding landscape of possibilities.
Precisely. And just like exploring a forest, there will be paths that lead to dead ends, and others that lead to incredible vistas. The key is to keep exploring, pushing the boundaries of knowledge, seeking those new explanations. That's what fuels progress.
And where does human creativity fit into all of this? Our ability to imagine new things and test them against reality seems pretty crucial.
Absolutely. The multiverse provides a framework for understanding the true power of creativity. Think about it. In a multiverse of infinite possibilities, every new idea, every new theory has the potential to, in a sense, create a new universe, a new branch of reality.
It's like we're planting seeds in a garden of the multiverse, and some of those seeds might grow into these incredible world-altering trees.
I love that image. It highlights the responsibility we have as creators. The choices we make, the ideas we pursue, they can shape not just our own lives, but the fabric of reality itself.
That's both exhilarating and a bit daunting. Like even small creative acts can have these huge ripple effects across the multiverse.
And that brings us to another key point Deutsch makes, the importance of optimism. If we really grasp the power of creativity, the infinite possibilities the multiverse suggests, then we have every reason to be optimistic about the future.
Optimism. I'm all for that. But isn't it a bit naive to be optimistic when there are so many challenges facing us? So many potential problems looming on the horizon?
That's where Deutsch's philosophy really stands out. He says optimism isn't just some feel-good emotion. It's actually essential for progress. Optimism is the belief that problems can be solved,
Yeah.
that there are solutions out there waiting to be discovered.
So it's not about ignoring the problems, but about believing in our ability to overcome them.
Exactly. Pessimism, on the other hand, can lead to stagnation and despair. If we believe problems are insurmountable, we're less likely to even try to solve them.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Perfectly put. Optimism is a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we believe in the possibility of progress, we create the conditions that make it possible.
This all makes sense, but how do we cultivate that optimistic outlook? It's easy to get bogged down by daily life and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Deutsch emphasizes the importance of seeking good explanations. When we understand how things work, the principles behind the complexity, we're more likely to see the potential for positive change.
It's like those aha moments when you finally grasp a concept and everything clicks into place. That feeling of understanding can be so empowering.
Those moments are powerful. They're not just about intellectual satisfaction, but about recognizing our ability to solve problems, to create a better future. So stay curious, seek out those good explanations, and never underestimate the power of a good idea. It can change the world, maybe even the multiverse.
Wow, this deep dive into the beginning of infinity has been incredible. We've explored so much. The limits of common sense, the power of explanations, the reality of abstract ideas, the vastness of the multiverse, the importance of optimism. It's been quite a journey.
It's been a real pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
As we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway you hope listeners will carry with them?
I think the most important message is that we are at the beginning of infinity. There are infinite possibilities out there, and we have the power to shape those possibilities with our choices, our creativity. It's both inspiring and a little daunting, but ultimately, I think, incredibly hopeful.
What a powerful thought. We're not just passive observers. We're active participants in an ongoing story of creation and discovery. The future is not set. It's ours to create.
That's the beauty of it. The adventure is just beginning, and we get to decide where it leads.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the beginning of infinity. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope it sparked some new ideas and maybe even a bit of optimistic curiosity about the future. Until next time, keep those minds open, and remember, we're all on this incredible journey together.